your own personal discomfort. Say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way. The more you make the world a better place.
Well, good afternoon, social media from the Pacific Northwest. I've changed my surroundings to a campground this week where I'll be working from as I'm in between traveling and also celebrating our wedding anniversary this week. Welcome all. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Great topic today. Validation is not agreement. I think this is a needed topic for our Tuesday lives. Our live at 5 on Tuesdays is for people from all walks of life who are interested in these topics through a crisis de-escalation lens, and we try to discuss and grapple with the principles in application to everyday life. On Thursdays, our lives on the Jumpstart Mastery Network are oriented toward professionals who are in the human services space, public safety space, corrections, hospitals, and have duties and responsibilities to de-escalate. Welcome all. What do you think it means? Validation is not agreement. I think when people hear a claim or an assertion that they don't agree with, very often our reaction can be one of disapproval, particularly if it's reactive, can be one of disapproval as the first thing that someone hears coming from us. Let's say someone makes an assertion about your motivation in doing something. You did that because XYZ, and they're wrong. It would be very natural to say, no, I didn't. That's not true. That's not correct. That would be fine. And what most people do, except there's not much that is salutary about that or de-escalating in nature. So what does it mean validation is not agreement or does not mean agreement? Can I let someone know that they are seen, heard, and understood without agreeing with them? And once that communication is made, I then have to deal with the fact that there's disagreement. Can I navigate that core issue with grace and with competence so as to de-escalate conflict? The answer is yes. And I'd like to talk for a moment about the word validation, why we use the word validation. In the human services world, in the behavioral health world, validation could be distilled to the core idea that you're letting someone know that they are seen, heard, and understood. I see you, I hear you, I understand you. This does not mean I agree with you. So what might be some ways that you let someone know that they're seen, heard, and understood without agreement? I think that's a reasonable question. The first answer would be demonstrating that you're listening and observing, that you're paying attention. We'll get to why this is so important in a minute. You can let them know that they're being heard, yes, and that you're observing them. You're making eye contact. They have your 100% attention. That means that they know that the effort that they're applying to being heard is sufficient. How often have you seen a youngster or even an adult begin to raise their voice as a natural step if you perceive that they're not being understood? It's as if the human physiology does the thing that comes natural. I say something, someone doesn't understand, I increase the volume. Well, what if they did understand? It's just that the way that they perceived your message gave you the sense that you weren't understood. And let's say you were just going to follow what the physiology suggests you do, so you just start to raise your voice. How do you think other people experience that? They generally experience that as you getting angry. And then suddenly you're met with things like, you need to calm down. You need to lower your voice. You need to back up. You're getting all worked up. And now people are engaging in appraisals. And meanwhile, you started the whole interaction with a claim, probably for some reason. Maybe you objected to something that was on your bill and it shouldn't have been. Maybe you objected to a seat assignment on an airplane. Maybe you objected to a claim that a neighbor made in a community meeting about you. You object, and then you communicate a message, and the message is heard, but you're not perceiving that it's being understood. So you increase the volume. This is a normal thing that happens every day with human beings. So why listen and observe? I want someone to perceive that their effort to be heard is being accomplished, that it's meeting the objective. I may even reflect what has been stated. I may even say back, so I hear you saying that I ordered garlic bread. I hear you saying that I ordered garlic bread when I first sat down. That doesn't mean that I agree that I ordered garlic bread. It means that I hear the employee telling me that I ordered garlic bread. I hear you saying lets the other person know that their message is being received. Accurate reflection of what has been stated. In the words of the great Brian Zolnikoff, levels 1 and 2, listening and observing, and accurate reflection of what has been stated, you're always safe with those, with strangers. What do you mean? Andy, you're numbering validation levels? I didn't do it. Dr. Marsha Linehan did, from Dialectic Behavior Therapy. Look it up. There are 6 levels of validation. And one of the reasons at Jumpstart we cherish the levels of validation in DBT is because they capture all of the active listening skills. Oh, so what are the levels? I'm going to tell you. Level 1, listening and observing. Level 2, accurately reflecting what has been stated. Level 3, articulating the unverbalized. Let's say someone is going on and on about how a business partner screwed them over. And the person is angry and describing all kinds of things that the other person did. And then you say to them, man, that's gotta hurt. It almost sounds like I'm getting a sense that you're feeling some betrayal. And they say, yes, that's absolutely right. Articulating the unverbalized. The person's not saying it, but you're using an emotional label to articulate what they're not saying. Level 4, validating in terms of history, what the other person has gone through, makes entirely understandable why they're doing what they're doing now. Level 5, validating in terms of current circumstances. If the current circumstances they're in are responsible for how they're animating themselves and it's reasonable, you can validate in terms of current circumstances. Well, if I were in the same situation that you're in right now with your landlord and your neighbors, I can totally appreciate why you would feel this way and perhaps want to do what you're doing. Or level 6, statements of radical genuineness. Shared experience. You lived with alcoholism, I lived with alcoholism. You lived with homelessness, I lived with homelessness. You were a veteran, I'm a veteran. Those are very powerful. What is it that validation does, even when there's no agreement? Validation has a salutary effect on their claim. Their threat circuitry, are you a risk or a threat, has been disarmed as a function of how you have let them know that they're seen, heard, and understood. You're letting their nervous system know that you're not a threat. But now you have something else to do. We have to deal with the core disagreement here. We have to deal with what the thing is that I'm in the middle of. Let's say I have a family member that lives with some kind of serious mental illness or intellectual or developmental disability, and they want to be in the active roadway. And they're animating themselves in the roadway, and I'm very concerned for their safety, and they're clearly not concerned for their safety for understandable reasons. I might say, hey, Nancy, I see you in the roadway. Not getting hit by a car is really, really important. In other words, here's the shared value, not getting hit by a car. Now, let's say Nancy pushes back and says, I don't care, I'm not going to get hit by a car. I hear you saying you're not going to get hit by a car. Now I have to think of a different shared value or rule that we might agree with. Being in the middle of the roadway could potentially result in someone calling 911 and a whole bunch of responders coming here. Now, Nancy is thinking potentially about how her activity is going to be disrupted. And let's say she doesn't want that because she has some history or knowledge of that. Just in those two steps, I've let Nancy know, I see you and I hear you. I don't agree with what you're doing. I'm trying to relate with you on the basis of a shared value, not getting hit by a car. She objects. I'm not going to get hit by a car. I'm too fast. I'm too agile. I'm not going to get hit by a car. Okay. I better pivot to something real fast we can share. Getting arrested is unpleasant. Nancy gets that. Nancy gets that if law enforcement shows up here and she does this in their presence, it's conceivable that they're going to detain her in some way. So what I've actually done with validation is become an ally and relate with someone on a shared value. Now, in our method, we would move into a suggestion and then a prompt, which is a description of how the suggestion will serve them. But the point here of this discussion today is why validate? We want to validate even if we don't align with or agree with what someone else is doing, because we want to render influence. And we're not going to render influence if they perceive us as not understanding and not listening. So, Andy, what are you saying? Are you saying that you should just be a doormat to everybody who says something that you don't disagree with? No, not at all. What I'm saying is, if somebody presents something to you that you don't agree with, take a beat and consider how you let them know that they're seen, heard, and understood before you get to the nature of the disagreement. If you let them know that they're seen, heard, and understood before you get to the disagreement, your influence over the situation will grow exponentially. If you start off with, hey, stop what you're doing, that's not correct, you're inaccurate, that ain't right. If you start there, all you're doing is letting someone else's nervous system know that you're blocking a goal or violating an expectation. And we already know from the neuroscience that those two things, when someone perceives that their goal is being blocked, let's say their goal is being heard, or an expectation is being violated, let's say agreement with, alignment with, that's my expectation here, you need to align with me. If they perceive one of those two things, anger is going to happen. It's going to happen in the wiring. It's not something that can be avoided. If I start with validation, even if I disagree, I am disarming their nervous system from perceiving me as a risk, which sets me up to be far more influential in the interaction to finding some kind of agreement that creates a change state. That's what we're after. Try it at home. Try it with a loved one. Whenever there's an opportunity to let someone know that they're seen, heard, and understood, try starting your response with one of those statements and just see what happens. Just see what happens if you validate more. Watch what happens around you when the first thing, if you're committed to the first thing coming out of your mouth as some kind of validation. And then let us know what you think about that. What happened out in the world when you started validating everything, or at least validating things more frequently. I think you'll find a very positive change in your life. I hope you got something out of this. We're coming to you on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram today. On Thursday, join us on the Jumpstart Mastery Network, where our lives are oriented toward professionals who are in the space and have some responsibility to de-escalate. If you haven't gone to our YouTube channel yet to take advantage of the free Icons of Influence Masterclass, I encourage you to do that. It's 7 or 8 hours of content with the great Gary Nesner and Jack Cambria, globally known pioneers in hostage negotiation, where we discuss these very principles and why they use them in the highest stakes events. Take very good care. We'll see you again soon.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
More that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.